So I've got hardware, the insert is finished up. Now I just got to check the fit on this. And yeah, that's not even close. So, I knew this was going to happen. I have to cut a spike. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So you saw from the short brief intro, I have a reel seat insert that will not fit. This is common. Well, at least it's common for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make what's called a stent, or a spike as I call it. And basically what that's gonna do is it's gonna neck the back end of the rod down so I can fit the insert and I can keep all my proportions smaller. The process that I use is a little bit over involved. It doesn't need to be this involved, but I kind of want to show everybody how I build it up, and nobody ever really sees it. They see finished rod photos and they don't see what's underneath or how I made it work. So I just want to take a minute to show you how I made it work, and then at the end of the video I'm going to show you a real super simple way to do this if you want to try it on your own. So let's get right into it and I'll show you the components and the process. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so let's go over the materials real quick. And this is just a white fiberglass rod. This is machinable, so I can use this to cut down to the size that I need. In addition to that, this is a filament wound carbon fiber tube that the insert fits onto. And then lastly, I have the carbon rod, and this is solid carbon, and this is my pinning material because I have to make a pin just for safety's sake. And then just a good quick bond epoxy, because this is all going to need to be glued together, and then I pin everything together. So you'll see that here in a bit, but I already have the rod marked out for where it needs to be cut. So I'm going to be cutting the rod off right here. And I always have all my numbers ready to go so that I can just jump straight into it and don't have to constantly be measuring. So I know everything ahead of time. So I'm ready to go. So I'm going to take you to the other side, and we're going to start with a bandsaw. So this is just a little benchtop bandsaw. And what I'm going to do is, once I start it up, I'm going to make impact with the blade. And then I'll slowly rotate it to keep my cut as even as I can. One thing that I will do is I will tape this out and I will mark the blank out. And the reason why I'll tape it out is if I do get any splintering, this mitigates it from wanting to run in any direction. So that's just one thing I would do before I would get started, and that's one thing that I actually do. So I'm going to turn this on and I'm going to cut the back end off of this rod. Then the only thing that's really left to do is I'll just clean it up a hair. And now that that's done, I can come in with a bit of sandpaper. Like a 120 or an 80. Clean that edge off. And we'll go a little higher. And then I can release that tape. So the blank has now been cut off, and you can see I also had all my color tests done on the back of that rod, so I can actually save these. But that's it. Blank's cut. Time to move on. Well, I'm back. Normally I don't try to do this in the middle of a video and interrupt it with this, because let's be honest, nobody needs this. So I set the spike up in the lathe to machine it down, and I made two critical mistakes. One, I didn't turn on my audio. Two, I didn't realize my coolant system was right in the shot. So the video sucks. Completely sucks. So what I'm going to do is show you an illustration with where the spike is at. And hopefully this makes a bit more sense. And it's probably going to speed the video up a bit. So I'm going to flip you around. I'm going to show you the illustration with the spike where it sits now. So let's do that. So for the sake of this illustration, what you're looking at is the white material, the white fiberglass rod. And this is how I would cut it. So this side is inserted into the blank. So I need the ID diameter of the blank. The ID diameter on the blank is 0.3870. So that would be this measure. This diameter here is the diameter of the blank OD, because I want to match this diameter. So that was 4125. This diameter here is the ID of this material. So the ID on this material was 2870, 2840. So this half-inch diameter material needs to be turned down to 4125. Then to be received into the blank, I need to turn it to 3870. And then to be received into this piece of carbon fiber tubing, it needs to be 2840. So these numbers get machined down to match the blank. It's really pretty simple. And it's straightforward. The only thing is, you can see this area here and this area here is where I'm going to bore the material just to lighten it up. And this also gives me a pocket here and here in which I can create a balance point. So if I need to add weight, I can add tungsten, I can add brass, I can do whatever I want here or here to make the rod balance better. This is probably the primary reason why I cut these spikes this way, and that it's also the fact that it creates a really accurate package underneath. So what you end up with is something that looks kind of like this. This is the side that's going into the rod, and this is the side that the spike is attached to. As you can see, you're seeing a bit in the future, but I didn't realize that I lost everything until now. So the only other thing that I will do is I'll cut grooves on both sides so that when I bond this, I have a little bit more holding area and a little bit more surface. So what I want to do is I want to get back in line now, and I want to show you the process for gluing this up and getting it finished. Alright, so at this point I have the adapter cut. I wiped it down and it just picked up all kinds of fur. So it's cut. I also have the receiver end for the insert trimmed to length. So what I need to do now is I need to bond this to this. So the adapter is going to get bonded. Once these two are bonded, then I will drill a hole here and I will set my pin. I already have the epoxy set, ready to be mixed. So I'm going to mix that up, and then I'm going to bond it up. So we're going to be generous with this, and I always start near the opening first, heavy, because it's going to want to push its weight down. I'll run it up and down a couple times. Get everything good and gooey. Then with a rag with just a little bit of alcohol on it, I'll clean that off. And now it's starting to look like the spike that I need. So I'll see you in about 45 minutes and we will pin this and get it ready to be installed. So I have a bit of epoxy ready, and all I'm going to do is take a toothpick, run that epoxy down in, and then I cut these pins a little bit tapered. Well, I don't cut them tapered, I just sand them tapered. And I'm going to push that pin down till it gets tight. And then what I can do is I can apply epoxy to the male side of this end of the spike. Now, one thing to keep in mind is I will cut this spike off, obviously. Then the insert's going to cover this, so everything's going to have another layer of bonding, and that spike cannot get free. So I'll spin this down in. Bit more denatured alcohol. Clean off all that squeeze out. And again, this is just the things that nobody really sees that goes on with a rod. But it allows you to control the image so much better. So, 45 minutes, we'll come in, chop this off, make sure everything fits the way it needs to. But for the most part, it's done. So at this point, the epoxy is fully cured, and we skipped ahead a little bit. I've already cut off the excess pin material here. And what I used to cut my pin material off was a jeweler's saw. So I'll just lay the jeweler's saw flat, and I will come in and saw off the excess. Once it's sawed off, I'll just sand it down real quick, smooth everything out so that there's no bumps or any harsh fit. I have this because I used to do a lot more cork inlay work than I do now. It's nice, but it's not necessary. You could use a hacksaw, you could use any sort of a razor saw, whatever you wish to use, it's going to work. So the only thing I have left to do now is to just test fit everything, and the insert comes in from the back. The cork, as always, comes in from the top. And everything fits. So that's my process for reducing this down. Now, I told you I'd show you a way to do this kind of on the cheap and a lot easier than this process. So I'll show you that now. So this is just for demonstration purposes, and this blank is huge. But these are sandable arbors, and you can pick these up from any rod building supply place. And you can take these, You can cut them into sections. You could take your spike material, which in this instance I'm just using one of my cork mandrels, fit everything to size. So this slides down on, and then this will slide up into the blank where it's glued in place. Now this one's a little bit smaller for this blank, but you could buy these in all different sizes and you could sand them to fit. So that would be the easy solution, is just as effective. I've seen people do this too, and I'm not 100% sure I'm on board with it, is taking cork, drill out your cork, put it on here, turn it to the diameter of the ID of the blank, and then slide this in. But that's another option, and this is giving you options for how to achieve that finished image that you're after. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to wrap this video up, and I'll see you in a second. Well, that about does it for me. It's stupid late. I'm incredibly tired, and I'm calling it a night. So that is how you make small components fit on the back end of a big blank. And, you know, I think my goal with this channel was to get rod builders to think differently about how you do things and how things can work. And in addition to that, if you're not a rod builder, you know, there's always a creative solution to a difficult problem. You just have to find it. And yeah, that's my creative solution to make everything fit the image that I want. And that's ultimately what I'm after in rod building, is, you know, hitting that ideal image. And this is how I achieve that on the back end of a build. With that being said, we're going to wind this down, and it's Thanksgiving week. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And I hope you're spending this holiday with family and loved ones and those that are close to you. I know it's been a tough couple years on all of us. And, you know, things aren't 100% back to normal. They probably never will be. But I hope this is a great Thanksgiving for everybody out there. And for those that aren't in the United States, I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great stretch until I see you again. And as always, I may see you again here soon. We're going to revise this now. I may see you in a month, which seems to be about my average, or I may never see you again. Regardless, the time that we've spent together here, I greatly appreciate it, and I hope everybody is doing well. Take care.